Brian Warfield joins me from the Wolfe Tones on this Monday morning. Brian, good morning.
Good morning to you, and good morning to Cork.
Nice.
And, I'm sure Cork is very proud of that, because the Black and Tans burned the city way back in the 1990s and 1920s. So I don't think the Black and Tans were ever welcomed in Cork.
No, we don't have any fond memories of those fellas. But you must, you just talk about Cork. You must have fond memories going back to Shiamsa Lee, the big gigs down the park back in the 70s and 80s, where 30 and 40 and 45,000 people would turn out to hear you play.
Yeah, and I think the biggest one was 55,000.
Oh my God!
And it started out amazing. And I have a photograph of one of them. I've written a book about the 55 years. The Wolfe Tones are 55 years together this year. And I've written a book about it. But one of the photographs I have in is a photograph from the air of Shiamsa Lee. And the whole park is full of people. It's just amazing. Left, right, the big stand, behind the stage, in front of the stage. It was just an amazing amount of people. It's probably one of the forerunners of the festivals in Ireland, so it's amazing.
And is your back catalogue as relevant as it was back in those days? Come Out You Black and Tans and songs like that, or has Ireland changed in that regard? Do you think? Is there still a need for Republican ballads?
Yeah, well, I think, have a look at Rod Stewart, and I think, what's his name, the host of the show.
well, Rod Stewart, you're talking about his version of Grace, is it?
Yeah, and he was thanked by on the Late Late Show for keeping the story alive. And, they say that to Rod Stewart because he's not Irish, but if an Irish group like the Wolfe Tones keep the story alive, they're castigated for it. We've been singing Grace for like 15 years.
Yeah.
And I think Rod Stewart actually took my arrangement of it, because I did a kind of a musical arrangement with an orchestra and with the violins and all that, and it's exactly the same on his record. So he must have got it from somewhere.
But was it true that like RTE would never play your music?
Well, I challenged this at one stage. I got a journalist to get onto RTE and asked them, do they play the Wolfe Tones? And they said, hold on. They put him onto the what you may call it, department, the department of the... Oh,
okay, music department, whatever, yeah.
And he came back with they came back with a message to him that the Wolfe Tones are an iconic group, and they have no problem with playing the Wolfe Tones at any stage. Now, then he went back and he asked, could he see a catalogue of the last time the Wolfe Tones were played? And they couldn't do that. And and I know, and I think the whole public know, that they very rarely, if ever, hear the Wolfe Tones, and have very rarely, if ever, heard the Wolfe Tones over the last 35 years.
Well, what about the streets of New York? Didn't that get played?
That was number one in 81. That's over 36 years ago.
Yeah. You think they were just kind of touchy-feely about things like Come Out You Black and Tans or The Men Behind the Wire or things like that?
Yeah, but I mean, we've had many songs out after that. I mean, I wrote a very nice Christmas song, Remember Me at Christmas, which has a very good message in it and everything. Brought it out, and something, it's probably the only Christmas song that was never played. I think they thought that Santa was in the Provost.
You think that what?
I think they might have thought that Santa Claus was in the Provost. When I wrote this song, them bloody Wolfe Tones, they started it all. I tell you something, only for them to be no troubles in the north. They have all this kind of attitude. But we've had wonderful songs like Dreams of Home, like My Heart is in Ireland, like wonderful, great songs that told different stories of emigration, and told all kinds of stories when nobody else was telling them. We fought to legalize the Irish in America, did shows for and everything else, and no credit well to the Wolfe Tones. They still, if you went into the library there or into their virtual library, you'd probably only find one song there, The Streets of New York.
Streets of New York, which was didn't Liam Riley wrote that first?
He did, yeah. But we've had thousands of singles out over the years. And
so what are you talking about? Talking about Come Out You Black and Tans, The Men Behind the Wire, Sean South of Gary Owen, The Broad Black Brimmer, A Nation Once Again, the Helicopter Song, which went to number one, which was the IRA Escape from Mountjoy in 73, wasn't it? There was a lot of them.
There is, and I think we kept the story alive. When you look back at history, probably in the next couple of generations, and you look back to the Troubles and everything else like that, the Wolfe Tones were the only people who documented that in song.
But you don't think you stoked the fire of trouble in any way, Brian? No,
not a chance. It's the people telling their story, like Get Out Your Black and Tans in Cork. They're telling the story of how the Black and Tans burned the city, how they raped and murdered their way around Ireland. And, it's history, it's our story, and it should be told.
How does it go down, say, if you're doing gigs in the UK? Do you have to kind of drop certain songs?
Not at all. I have, I had an experience of going into the House of Commons, the House of Parliament a couple of times of a couple of friends.
You weren't doing a gig in there, were you?
No, but I was at a gig there. But I just tell you about this. I went the first time I went in was about 4 or 5 years ago, and I was crowded around by about 20 MPs, and all of them had grown up with the Wolfe Tones. They all had an Irish background. They came out. I was probably the biggest celebrity in there. They were queuing up to buy me pints or have a chat and everything else like that. We sat around the table and we had a great laugh all together. And they were all great fans of the Wolfe Tones. The Wolfe Tones mean something to the Irish diaspora. And, when Ireland was being run down as terrorists across the world and everything else by English propaganda coming out by Thatcher and everything else like that, the Wolfe Tones were given pride to the Irish diaspora in England, in Scotland, in Wales, and across America and Canada, Australia. So there was pride in the story of our history and a gallant people fighting for their homes and for their country. It's a great story, and I think it beats the story of the drunken Irish paddy going out there, playing his half cut, putting on this drunken Irish image that I think they love to see. I think it's much better for us to go out and tell a real story about a great hero, whether it be James Connolly or Padraig Pearse, who were unbelievable people and great examples, not alone to Ireland but to the world. You're talking about people like Joe Plunkett, who's a major figure of 1916. And all these stories are wonderful stories. And they should not be left in the brown pages and spotted pages of books and left there for a never and never be sung. They were meant to be sung. They were meant to be told. And the people of Ireland love their story. And that's why it's so popular today.
Didn't the BBC, I think might have been the World Service, didn't they do an international poll for the most popular song of all time? Didn't you guys win that?
We did indeed. That was the song of the millennium, and they put everything into the hat, including classical music. So over 1,000 years of music was put into the hat, including Beethoven.
7,000 tracks actually from 153 countries.
That's it. Yeah.
But
and the Wolfe Tones came out number one with A Nation Once Again, and.
How did that happen? Was it manipulated or something?
Well, everybody had a campaign to get votes across the world. I mean, the producer said to me at one stage, he said, "You guys got votes from little islands in the Pacific. You got votes from all the continents, little villages in Africa, and all over the world." He said. It was just amazing that, that everybody, they say that the British Empire had an empire where the sun never set.
Yeah.
the Wolfe Tones have a following where the sun never sets.
And do you think now, with regards to Steve Coogan's Alan Partridge character, that it's kind of rejuvenated your back catalogue and maybe even introduced you to a new younger generation?
Well, we have a huge young generation following. Like if you go to any of the Wolfe Tones shows, you'll find that there's in some places to be nobody over 25. And just to say, last week on Spotify, should I say?
Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah, what was it like, Spotify last week?
Yeah, there was a spike of a million listeners, and a million listeners. There was two songs mainly: "Get Out Your Black and Tans" and "Celtic Symphony." So they were the two songs that got a million streams last week.
Not the Men Behind the Wire, not You'll Never Beat the Irish, no?
No, it was mainly two songs: "Celtic Symphony" and "Get Out Your Black and Tans."
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. So he's done you a real favour. Do you know him? Did you know he was going to do this?
Not at all. We were on tour in America. I only got back last Tuesday. We were over there. We were in Canada for Paddy's Day, and so I only got back home. And when I got back home, like, people were calling me and asking me, "Yeah, I didn't see this. You said that." Oh, yeah, I saw it. Yeah. So I couldn't help but get into the feel of it. And then, journalists were calling me from here, there, and everywhere, and just went manic.
Are you due to play Cork anytime soon, I wonder?
No, I don't think so. I think we should be back. We haven't been back in a while in Cork, but I don't know. We're not coming back to Ireland now. We won't be in Ireland now until next August.
Where are you touring? Are you overseas? Where are you overseas?
Well, we're going to Scotland now next weekend. We're in the Barrowlands in Scotland, and after that we take a break because we've been working very, very hard. And the Wolfe Tones are all old guys now. Tommy just had his birthday there on Friday. Happy birthday, Tommy. He was 75.
Oh, wow. 75. Yeah. So 55 years going. It's an incredible achievement, isn't it?
It is amazing. And like, as I said, I've written the book about it with all the stories, all the photographs, all about the little stories of Tommy and where he grew up and all that, of Noel and the background. Tommy's father was, our grandfather was a great part of the Easter Rising of 1916. He was working on the telephone lines to try and break the communication between Ireland and Britain.
Amazing.
And he also fought in the GPO, and he was a great friend of Michael Collins, and was a Collins supporter right to the very end.
Amazing.
Himself and Michael Collins were great buddies.
What did you make of the New York St. Patrick's Day parade? You know, the banner that Mary Lou stood behind, the one that said, "England, get out of Ireland"? There's a lot of criticism over that. I
have seen that banner on the St. Patrick's Day parade going back to the 1960s and the late 1960s. And that banner has, as far as I know, always walked up.
Since 1940. Yeah. I know that, but it's just that they say times are different now, and it's about inclusion and conversation and everybody getting along, and that it would be seen as divisive to see her standing behind it.
And it's also about freedom of expression, and if she feels she wants to express that, that's fine. I have no problem with it. You can't please all the people all of the time, and if you want to speak out about certain things, like, you have to say it. I mean, there's no sense of keeping it secret. I don't know what our reason for getting behind that. I'm not going to...
the 32 County Ireland, which is the Sinn Féin.
Yeah.
The Sinn Féin promise, like,
yeah. Well, I suppose that's the reason. So that, I don't know. You'd have to ask her, like, what...
I did. She was on with me on Friday. I was just curious as to what you made of it. But good answer. Freedom of speech, I suppose, if you like. Before I do let you go, they talk about the reunification, the 32 counties. What would we do with the national anthem or the tricolour? Have you ever given any thought to that?
Well, something, I had this conversation with a lot of unionists up in the north at one stage, and they said to me, I said, well, what do they do about what do we do about the anthem? I said, well, what do you want? And someone came back who said, play Misha Era. I said, that's fine. I have no problem with that. Well, what about the flag? You don't like the flag. It's a piece between orange and green. As it was bought back in 48, given by the people of France. I said, well, what you don't like it? Change it. And we came up with an idea of the green, white and orange flag and input it like a Union Jack kind of setup. You input the Ulster flag into the green, white, and it looks great.
But you're acknowledging that it would have to change, though, that the anthem and the flag would have to change.
No, I'm not acknowledging that. But if they want it, if they need that to bring unity, I have no problem with it.
You'd be okay with an anthem that would be acceptable by unionists, loyalists, because I was talking to a guy last week in the north from a unionist background. His father was in the RUC. He acknowledged that we are heading for a united Ireland. He says it's inevitable, but the two stumbling blocks for him would be, the Union Jack. Sorry, pardon me, the tricolour and the anthem.
The flag and the anthem. Well, there's your answer. I mean, I'd have conversations loads of times with unionists, and a lot of the guys like that I knew up there who were, ran shows with us and everything else like that. But they basically call themselves paddies, and they wouldn't be the sort of staunch, what would you say, like a UVF kind of
reasonable people, you're saying.
They'd be people that understand that they are in Ireland and they are Irish and they have other people to live with on the island. And, I wouldn't put a stumbling block over it. Once there was unity, what's the difference? Unity in Ireland would mean more to me than a flag or an anthem.
And you think you'll see it? I
hope to see it within my lifetime. I know we're getting on I'm 73 this year. So I know that, I'd love to see it within my lifetime. It'll be a mission accomplished.
Would it be a crowning glory? Would it be the cherry on top if that happened for the Wolfe Tones?
Well, it'd be the cherry on top for the Irish people, I believe.
Fair play.
And the Irish people, for generations have hoped and wished for that. People forget that that Irish republicanism is not just Catholic; it's every religion in Ireland, and all our great Republicans and all our great nationalists.
But you were never singing loyalist songs, though, or Protestant songs. I mean, your music would have been closely associated with the IRA, you see.
No, we sang the Sash Me Father War.
All right.
We sang that on our first LP. We sang it also on the LP CD recently released about 2006. We have a version of the Sash where it says, "Now these days are gone and it's time to forget the fight fought long ago. King Billy and Sarsfield are in their grave where you can't tell a friend from foe. So let's meet again on the slopes of the vine. A view the slice so fine, and it's forward we look, and united we'll be when there's no more borderline." I also wrote a song called it's called Partition, and it tells the story of why. It tells about Carson saying you can't take the 9 counties of Ulster. He has to have 6.
Yeah.
He can't take 3, which were the Unionist 3 counties, and all that in the song.
Yeah.
And then it talks about let's build a wall around and leave them other out of it, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's all about the partition in 1922, the Border Commission, why it didn't come in, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I documented about everything in Irish life. We sang the old Irish flute, and we sang, sure looked like I wrote a song called The Protestant Men. I wrote another song about the United Irishmen, and they were all Protestant Presbyterians.
That answers my question. Question. Appreciate that.
Well,
Okay, good to catch up. Thanks so much, Brian. Thanks for taking the time this morning. Have a good week. Appreciate it. Brian Warfield from the Wolfe Tones. There were others, but none like the Wolfe Tones from the point of view of their catalogue of music. To some extent, Planksty touched on it. Moving Hearts certainly did, and Christy Moore did, but Christy then had a change of heart, really, and decided to move away primarily from being overtly Republican and became a lot more all-inclusive. I mean, he'd be probably roaring at the radio hearing me saying this, but there was my interpretation at the time. Macomb and Clancy to an extent, and of course the Dubliners. But there was and is only one Wolfe Tones. Back after the break.
The Neil Prendeville Show.